Daniel Jose Older's Han Solo-centric novel, Last Shot, was definitely intended for adult audiences, but his original fiction runs the gambit from adult and young adult urban fantasy to middle grade alternate history novels featuring dinosaurs. Race to Crashpoint Tower is the second middle grade novel within the High Republic series and shows a different side of the Nihil attack on the Republic Fair. Race to Crashpoint Tower made it to number 4 on the New York Times Children's Middle Grade Hardcover Bestseller list for the week of July 18th, 2021. So, a brief summary. The Republic Fair is coming to Valo, but when a security alarm goes off on nearby Crashpoint Peak, Padawan Ram Jomarin discovers that someone has knocked out Valo's communication tower, and that Valo and the Republic Fair are in great danger. Fortunately, he's about to get some help from some unexpected new friends. So first, the good. I really liked Ram. It's very interesting when we get characters who are unlike the stereotypical Jedi. And Ram is very like Anakin Solo from the older expanded universe, in that he's very mechanically adept. He struggles with the combat parts of the Force, but what he finds really easy is how things work together. And so a lot of Race to Crashpoint Tower is him learning how to use his skills to best benefit everyone else around him. He's able to get the communications tower up and running, and he's also able to disable Nihil vessels specifically because of his innate mechanical skills. I also liked getting to fill in some of the gaps from The Rising Storm. In particular, we see Ram in prison when Ty York is in prison, but we don't quite know why he's there or what happened. And this lets us know what happened, that he discovered the communications tower had been knocked out, he brought it back online, he went to warn the Jedi, only for the Valo security forces to disbelieve him and throw him in jail. But my meh has to deal with how the High Republic books and comics connect to each other thus far. Our other main character, our other viewpoint character, is Padawan Lula Talisola, who was first introduced in the High Republic Adventures comic. I haven't read that one yet. I know that the first 5 volumes are available on the library app Hoopla, and I intend to check them out. But while Older gives us a really short breakdown of who she is and the recent events she's been involved in, I don't think you have a really good grasp of her character unless you've read those comics. She and her master and her friend Zine are completely new to the reader, and how the story started out just depended far too heavily on that comic and on the reader having knowledge of it. Likewise, I think the events of the Nihil attack on Valo Fair also relies too heavily on Rising Storm and some of the other stories. We have the Nihil gas, them wandering into the zoo, the animals running amok, which is somewhat easy to follow, but it's a lot easier to follow if you've already read The Rising Storm. And since The Rising Storm is an adult book, I'm not sure how well child readers will be able to follow along with the events here. And finally, the tone was a little bit silly, which I believe was entirely intentional on the part of Older. And this is where I have to admit that reading a middle grade book as an adult, you have to accept that it's not written for you. It's written for a child who's between the ages of 8 and 12. So while I appreciate that the Drengar scenes weren't too scary, there was a little bit of tonal disconnect there, because every encounter we've had with the Drengar so far in young adult and adult novels has been honestly pretty frightening. And here they're just definitely a threat to our young heroes and heroines, but also a bit of comedic relief. And sometimes their dialogue felt a little too 21st century Earth slangy for me, but once again, I'm not the target audience here. I'm an adult reading a book intended for children. So, in short, Race to Crashpoint Tower is a fun, kid-friendly look at the Nihil attack on the Republic Fair. We have a fun new Padawan hero we're introduced to, and we're also reintroduced to some fun characters from the High Republic Adventures comic. I just question how well a child reader would be able to follow along with the events of the story, though, simply because it does rely a lot on what happened in the Rising Storm, but since that's for adult audiences, I wish that Race to Crashpoint Tower stood on its own a little more. I can't take this off, it's too sticky.